When you think about building your website, it's kind of like building a house. But most of the time, when you build that house, you've built it in the middle of the woods. And it can be really hard to get people to your house. It's hard to find your house. So you need to make sure that you're visible and your website is too. And coming up today, we're going to be finding out how to boost your SEO so that when you do get visible, all of that hard work is easy to find. Welcome to Show Up and Be Seen. I'm Valerie McTavish, sharing insights and inspirations to help you get visible so that you can increase your impact and grow your business. Joining me on the show today is Jessica Freeman. She is a website designer and SEO expert. Thanks very much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So before we dive into all the juicy SEO goodness, which I'm, trying to sexy up because a lot of people don't think of SEO as sexy, but come on, getting found is so important. So before we get into that, I want to know a little bit about your journey in building your business. Did you struggle in the beginning to get visible, not just from an SEO perspective, but in terms of showing up for your business?
I did. I really did because when I first started my business, it was the very early days of like social media and business, it feels like. I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that early, but people weren't really posting pictures of themselves on Instagram a lot. Like nowadays, when every picture is a picture of ourselves or we're dancing and reels or whatever. There wasn't live video yet, and so putting ourselves out there was kind of a foreign concept. And my husband and some other business friends were like, you should start a YouTube channel. You have lots of great information that you can share. It would really set you apart because not a lot of people were doing video, especially YouTube. And as a designer, there are a million designers out there. So it can be tricky to stand out. And I fought back for several months. I was like, me? Video? No, not happening. No, you cannot make me do video. And I remember the very first two videos that I put on YouTube, I hadn't like officially started a channel. They were just screen shares. And now it's so funny to go back and like look at those because you can tell just doing voiceover for these screen shares. I was like, okay, so we're gonna do this and that. Like I was so nervous just to do a voiceover. And now I do videos almost every week and it feels so second nature. And I have had no formal training or done any professional videos. But now video is just like a big part of my world.
This is a story I hear all the time. It's the dichotomy between, I know I should do video. Yeah, starting a YouTube channel sounds like a great idea. This is
Hmm.
brilliant. And I don't want to. I'm so
Hmm.
afraid. So, when you had that hesitation, that resistance around getting on video, what did you do to get over it? Besides, dabbling in the hiding behind the screen share.
Honestly, it was a lot of just mindset. And I know that sounds really cliche and cheesy. I didn't like do anything formal like journaling or like affirmations or anything like that. But I really had to come to terms with, do I care more about like growing my business or just playing it safe and not having to face this fear of getting on camera? Like, do I really want to grow my business? Do I really want to try something new and see if this really helps? And so finally it was like, yeah, I really like, I want to give this a go. I want to see if it impacts my business and my brand. And spoiler alert, it did. But it was really like, what do you want to do? Do you like, because sometimes I think as business owners, we're like, I really want to make this amount of money. I really want to grow my team. I really want this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay, well, you got to do these things. And then people are like, but that's uncomfortable. I don't want to. And so you kind of have to come to terms with what, like, do you really, really want this? Because if you do, then you're going to have to push that aside and just kind of face your fear.
Was there one thing that pushed you over the edge? Was there one thing that made you realize, like, there's no turning back. I have to go forward?
Um, I don't remember anything specific. It just I do remember it was just like we'd been talking about it for several weeks, my husband and I, and some other business friends. And I remember I'd been like saying no, no, no. And whatever it was, because now I can't remember if there was something big, my husband came home from work one day and I was like, I'm setting up a YouTube channel and we're publishing a video on Tuesday, and which was like less than a week because I'm a very fast action taker. And he was like, okay. um he's like, I'm all for it, like I've been telling you to do this for months. And he was like, do you need help, do you want me to do something? And I was like, nope, I got it, I got to figure it out.
So it
Th-
was the "that lake looks cold, just jump in" approach instead of wading in
yes.
slowly. Gotcha,
Yes, I was
gotcha.
definitely just jump in, which that first video literally took me an hour to record and it was a minute long. Like I started my YouTube channel with 1 minute videos. That was, I gave myself permission to be super short and just like do super easy videos. Um,
This is so important. I don't want anyone to miss what you just said. You gave yourself permission
mhm,
for it to be short. You probably gave yourself permission for it to not be perfect or to not be
mhm.
exactly what you had envisioned. You gave yourself permission for it to be imperfect in the beginning.
100%, 100%. And I didn't go in with like, okay, I have to have all the YouTube SEO figured out and I have to know how to do perfect thumbnails and I have to have like all this. I was like, we're going to put up these videos, and I've just like adapted and gotten better at all the things as over the years. Uh, and so, yeah, I did not start perfect. And those first videos are awful. They are awful. And that's one thing I've learned in business in general, no matter what it is, if it's TikTok or Instagram or Facebook Live, like whatever it is, your first several are probably going to suck. Like your first several blog posts, podcast episodes, Instagram post, like they're gonna suck. And I know that sounds bad, but it's our first one, and we just have to get them out of the way. Like we're not gonna come out of this just like you're amazing at this unless you just have prior experience in that realm. um, those first few are just going to suck and then it'll get better. That's the good part. It only can go up from there.
I always like to say your first videos are like your before shot.
Yes.
You gotta take
Yes.
it so that you know how far you've come, once you've moved forward in your journey, and that's where you are now. You have success with your YouTube channel, you have success with your videos, and so tell us a little bit about what this approach and the long-term commitment to video and being visible has meant for your business.
Yeah, it has done so many things in my business. I mean, right off the bat, literally 3 months into my channel, I started getting clients. Not as the very, very first client wasn't a direct, like someone commenting on my video, but I was talking with someone about doing their website and they had a question like, well, what does that mean? Like, I don't even know what Squarespace is. And I had a video about Squarespace. And so I was like, oh, like here's a quick explanation. And fast forward, she hired me in the testimonial form. She was like, when I saw you on video and I saw how relatable you were, that sealed the deal for me. And so from that point on, I was like, yes, I want to work with her. But
This is so important, and I wanna stop you again because I don't wanna miss this point. This is something that I'm constantly telling people. Video helps you shorten the distance. It's like a
mhm,
shortcut to building your relationship, to building that know, like, and trust because people can see you. They can relate
mhm,
to you. They get a sense of you and whether or not you're gonna be a good fit to work with them. And
mhm.
and that's exactly what you're talking about. It's so amazing that she was so forthcoming with that information.
Yeah. And so I've gotten several other clients either in a similar way or literally from YouTube. Like, oh, I was searching on YouTube for X, Y, and Z. Your video came up. I watched it, and then I like clicked over, and now I'm inquiring. So that's been really helpful. It's also helped me get more press. So like doing more podcast interviews, publications, and that kind of thing. Which I mean, there was 1 year where I set a big goal to get like 40 plus features, and I beat that goal. Being on different podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And part of that was helpful that people could see me talking about my niche. And so they knew, oh, yeah, like she actually knows what she's talking about. Fantastic. Like she would be a great podcast guest or contributor or whatever.
Yeah, this
Uh,
is something that, having worked in the media before, this is something that a lot of people don't realize. When a producer or reporter is looking to do a story, especially for television, one of the first things they're going to do is make sure that person is well spoken, right? Because
mhm.
nobody wants to put someone on live TV who's going to freeze up or show up to do an interview and it's going to take them hours and hours because that person is so uncomfortable on the camera. So, showing up and being comfortable on camera and having a channel like you did just makes it an easy yes for
Mhm.
a producer or a reporter, and it can totally make it easier to get press. So, thank you for sharing that because that is really something that is honestly the kind of conversations that happen in the newsroom.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say the last few things that have also come from YouTube are brand sponsorships and passive income. So I actually do monetize my channel. So I'm one of those channels that you have to like watch the little ad before the video. So I get passive income through that. I do affiliate videos. So even if it's not sponsored, I'm an affiliate. So then if they choose to click my link, I can get that income. And then brand sponsorships that I have reached out to, but also I've had brands reach out to me as well because they come across my YouTube channel. So um,
So
that's been
great.
that's been really nice.
Yeah, and it's not I don't think it's something that an entrepreneur should strive for in the beginning, right? The
Mm-mm.
monetization, it can be really confusing for
Yes.
someone if you're building your personal brand, but, you've obviously gone the distance with this, so that makes total sense that you're doing that and monetize, that's great. So, let's dive into how people can get to where you are in terms of having that kind of an audience, that kind of lead generator from YouTube. I know it all comes down to SEO on YouTube, but also marrying that to your website, right? The
Hmm.
connection between what you're doing on YouTube and your website. So, big, broad, open question here. What is the number one thing that people need to understand about SEO when it comes to the website and YouTube together?
I would say, first of all, the biggest thing is consistency. And that applies to both YouTube and your website. A lot of people, they put up their website and they don't have content, and they have like 3 or 4 pages, which doesn't give Google very much data to understand what your site is about. And so you want to give Google all this information. And if you're going to talk about social media strategy, then the more content, videos, blogs, podcasts, whatever it is on your site, that's only going to help. So put that on your website. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I see YouTubers and podcasters making, is that their podcast is just on iTunes or their YouTube channel is just on YouTube. That should be embedded on your website, like in those blog posts. And fun fact, you can just get your podcast or YouTube channels, or your YouTube video, I should say, transcribed. And then that can be your blog post, quote unquote.
And it was actually a good strategy because then it's clearly stating what's in the video, so Google
Hmm.
knows what the topic is of your video, right? That makes it
Yeah.
a little bit easier for those bots to figure out what is the content here.
Yes, and staying on topic is also really important. So, if you are a social media strategist, then really focus on social media strategy, social media tips, apps, other tools, that we use to create social media posts, all that kind of information. If you start talking about recipes and hobbies and all this other kind of extra stuff, that can, I don't want to say hurt your SEO, but it can make it harder for you to rank, because Google really pays attention to topic density. And so they're like, okay, she has like 100 blog posts they all have videos and pictures and maybe some podcasts, whatever, embedded, this is such a great resource. But if you have these other things, it's not going to help your topic density. So you really want to be sure that you stay on topic. That's also going to help engage your audience because they're like, she's consistently talking about this stuff, and it's not, okay, what is Shelby going to talk about today? Like, I don't know what to expect from her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
it
can be
helps
really
build
helpful.
your authority with
Yes.
Google, right? And I think this is important because I think when a lot of people hear the word consistency, they think about the frequency, right? That you
Hmm.
are posting a video every week at the same time, on the same day. But you're also talking about the consistency of content, right? The
Hmm.
consistency of messaging. And so it's really important to think about consistency from both of those perspectives. And it's something that, you know, I have a program called Video Marketing Mastery. And in that program, that's what we talk about. It's the consistency of message and of frequency.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's really great. And you know, people sometimes get a little bit confused about what's going to get them ranked. And we hear about all of these hacks, you know, for SEO and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, you know, what I'm hearing you say is Google just wants to know they're recommending the best site for the search.
Yes, yes. I mean, there are definitely like tips and strategies for ranking. But number one, Google wants to give people a good user experience. So they're paying attention to, okay, people are searching this term, they click on this link, they go to Jessica's website, and then, 10 out of 100 stayed. Well, that's not a very high rate. Like, what's wrong? Like, why are people leaving? Okay, like we might bump her down in search. Let's try this website instead and see if that does better. So they really want to make sure that you are giving out valuable content. And that's another reason that putting those videos in your blog posts is helpful because it helps keep people on your website longer. So that can help your SEO. Plus, like we've already said, it helps connect with them, it helps your authority. So it helps in the brand sense, but it also helps your SEO since people are hopefully staying on your website longer.
Yeah, yeah, and the value will do that. It's value over volume, right?
Hmm.
So and I think it's really important too because I know a lot of people they want their website to be a reflection of who they are, and
Hmm.
so, you know, maybe they're an expert in, I don't know, hiking in the Pacific Northwest, right? So they've got all
Hmm.
these videos about the Pacific Northwest, but they also have a llama farm. And so every other
Hmm.
video is about the llama farm, and it confuses Google.
It
So
does.
even though in social media you might do a little bit more of the revealing of who you are, when it comes to the website, how important is it to be really streamlined in what you're building your authority around?
It is really important to stay on that topic. You can branch out a little bit. So, like I mentioned with the social media strategy, like that person could talk about the tips, the apps, the platforms, that kind of stuff. You could even dive into content a little bit. But if that person were to start talking about websites or graphic design
Cake
or
design, something totally left field,
yeah,
right?
like obviously even further. But so Google does pay attention, even in the realm of topic density. They also look at related keywords. So that can be beneficial if you are branching out just a tiny bit, but don't go too far out into left field. And then, I mean, if you're going to a totally different topic, like that's totally going to confuse Google. I know a lot of business owners who are multi passionate, and they're like, oh, I am this and that, or I can really talk about this, but I've done this funnel in my business, and so now I'm going to start teaching people funnels. And they want to offer two completely different services on their website, and I'm like, not only are you confusing your visitors, you're confusing Google because you're trying to rank. No one is searching for like wedding planner and interior designer. Like, I want someone who does both of those things. No, like that is going to confuse everyone, Google and the people trying to hire you.
Right. That's when you got to go build another house.
Yes,
Build a
yes.
separate house. And you can do
Hmm.
that. You can do whatever you want, but just put it in another house.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Awesome. So any tips for people who are looking to boost their SEO specifically on YouTube?
Use those keywords. That is, again, that comes to those keywords. I love using TubeBuddy. It's a Chrome extension, and they have like a keyword research tool. That's really handy, and it's free. They have a paid version, but they have a free version, and it can help tell you this is super competitive. I wouldn't do videos about this. But I have learned just in the last like few years, YouTube is getting smarter and a little more human. I know that sounds scary to say they're becoming more human, but I have heard that you can be a little more fun, if you would say, with your titles. So YouTube can recognize, like, oh, this is what the video is actually about based on the actual video itself and your description, your tags, all that. So the title doesn't have to just be how to post on Instagram. Like it can be, how to easily, attract more clients on Instagram or something like that. Like it can have a little more detail into it, a little more fun, something that is more intriguing to us humans and doesn't have to be so boring. But don't forget those keywords.
I love it. You're allowed to have personality now.
Yes.
And your titles can have personality.
Yes.
And that's a really great tip. TubeBuddy is an amazing, I mean, you plug that thing in and you're like, whoa, where'd all this
Uh-huh.
information come from? This
Yeah.
is, it can be really, really useful. But, you know, like you said, keep the personality, keep the
Mhm.
personal in there. Don't just create things based on recommendations from
Mhm.
TubeBuddy, because for a lot of people, they know their business, they know their ideal customer, and they know who they want to be connecting with. And you don't want to lose sight of that just by chasing what's going to be a good SEO topic.
100%. Yeah. It can be risky to just focus on SEO 100% and lose out on those people who are like, that does not sound interesting. The other thing I will say about TubeBuddy, which is really nice, is you doing your keyword research, try a few different ways of wording it. So, like, I remember several years ago, I was doing some keyword research and it was like, how to set up a website, awful, like too competitive. But then, like, how to create a website was a little less competitive. And then, like, how to design a website. Like, so using just different words could be a huge difference in your SEO. So that's also something to keep in mind.
Yeah, excellent. I love that. And I love, the fact that we have so many tools at our disposal
Hmm.
to actually make all of the effort work a little bit better. And
Yes.
that's really, what I want to thank you about from this episode of Show Up and Be Seen is that you've shown us that it's not just about showing up, but once you do show up, how do you make sure that those efforts are worth it? And adding in a little tiny little bit, don't be afraid of it, tiny little bit of that SEO can make a big difference. Now, I know that you have a free tool that actually helps people to build that website. So if you haven't built the house yet, or if your house is in desperate need of a reno, we're talking metaphorically about your website, then you have a free mini course that you have on offer.
I do. So it's totally free. I actually held an online summit last year, and it's the replays of that summit, but they're totally free and they're pitch free. And it's 7 different experts hitting all the different areas of your website. So design and strategy, SEO, Google Analytics, copy, legal stuff. Like it's all the stuff that you need. And obviously, you can just kind of pick and choose what you want to watch in that mini course. But you can go to justcreatives.com/planner and sign up to watch the mini course there.
Great. And don't worry, I will put that link in the description. So you don't have, if you don't have a pen in your hand, don't scramble for it. It's in the description. And Jessica, I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your journey with us today. I know you've inspired a lot of people and given them some things to think about when it comes to SEO. So thanks again for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And remember, you got into business to help someone solve a problem, and you can't do that if you stay hidden. So show up for them, show up for your business, and show up for yourself. We'll see you next time.